You are live. Does that say you are live or is that you are live? I would rather be laugh or love personally.
Stay live. Always stay live.
Yeah.
No, this is it's I'm glad we're finally able to do this again though, man. It's been a while.
It's been a while. It's been so long since we've done an episode that when I came down here into the basement where the setup is and to sit down in my chair, there was a spider web between my chair and the ceiling. And like we took the show off and never was there a spider web down here, but like you missed 3 weeks, however long it's been, and
It's been a while.
Yeah. I think maybe there's been a heightened level of spider activity in my basement because there was a web over by my washer dryer a couple months ago, like a big one, like could have caught me in it kind of web.
Dude.
And I was like, I don't know where this spider is, and I don't want to find out.
I live in Peter Parker's like bachelor pad. I got spider webs everywhere. You know, like I mean, because like I live in the land of spiders, so there'll be times like a spider will be weaving a web while we're doing the show that wasn't there before, and I'll open the door and I'll just walk right into it. And I'm like, you bastard, what is wrong with you? And I've got spider webs that are like sticking. For example, I got this light, and they'll do spider webs in the light, or they'll do spider webs by the camera. And so I'm always expecting at one point in time that it'll just kind of cross over in front of the camera, and then I'll have to contemplate whether I'm going to wipe it off or maybe just leave it for the aesthetic for like a Halloween episode or something like that.
I've got cameras in like monitoring my yard and front porch, backyard, and garage door and all that kind of stuff. And they go into infrared mode at night. So they're like putting out non-visible light, but it's also heat. Right. And so about once a month, I have to go Swiffer those out because spiders love building webs right there. And because I guess
they do.
Stuff. But then my notifications, I'll go to bed and I wake up, my notifications will be like, we detected movement. It's just a spider like at my
bastard
camera going, wah, 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 wah.
I had to turn off the movement thing because our dog's always going about. We've got like ducks everywhere. We got like employee, and then of course I've got like 3 cameras now, just straight up pointed at the neighbors at all times, right? And whatever they're doing. Yeah. So, you ready to kick this thing off?
Yeah, let's do it. This week's episode of Here's What I Don't Get is brought to you in part by additional time. If only we had more additional time in our lives, we could deal with everyone else's bullshit on their time. And welcome back to Here's What I Don't Get. From north to south, east to west, the only intercontinental podcast to tackle all of life's toughest issues. I am your host, Tab Burt, coming to you live from the most dangerous city in America, St. Louis, Missouri. And joining me from way down south, the land, that could be the land of praying hands with as religious as that country is. It's one of the most religious countries on earth, and that's probably why they have all the crime. El Chaco from Paraguay.
Hola, mi hinchada. Hey, Tab, I'm going to try my best to keep my energy level up today because I ended up having to take this very popular over-the-counter drug called Kitadol Relax. And it's like ibuprofen, and I don't know what the muscle relaxant is, but I had to take it because I got my ass kicked by my massage therapist earlier today. Like he had to just basically he had to, like rip my arm off and then put it back on again. So, in order to be able to make it through the show, gonna have to do that. So, shades are back on. So you won't actually be able to tell if I'm nodding off, but I'll do my best.
This may be a much more laid back episode. We'll see. Cause I am also very tired. It's been a long few weeks since we last did an episode. We had like our season has kicked back off. The summertime is over. You can probably tell if you're watching the video by how disheveled my normally perfect hair is. But it's like it's Tuesday and it has already been a miserably fucking long week. I I forgot that I had a glass demo this afternoon, so I had to leave work and went and do this glass demo and then come back and finish the day out. And I wish that I had. So originally the glass demo was supposed to be in the evening, in the early evening, not in the middle of my workday. And then they moved it at some point, and I get all these get these constant notifications that'll be like, your shift has been edited, and most of the time they just like added some little detail, but sometimes the time changes. And I'm so used to it just being some little detail that I'm just like, I don't care. And this time apparently the time changed by 2 hours, and I should have cared.
So wait, so your shift has changed. Is that a work notification or is it a glass notification?
It's a it's a work notification for the Glass Studio. So I work for the Glass Studio part-time as a venue manager and bartender, and also I work for the Glass Studio as an artist doing demos for events. So sometimes I get to be the artist making the piece, but most of the time I'm the narrator, and people listening to this are gonna be like, you can talk for 45 minutes and I can't. And so I get up there. You do some assistant work for the gaffer making the art, but mostly what you're doing is explaining what they're doing step by step for the audience and answering questions. I try and like make some levity. The really good narrators make the artist making the piece sound like a rock star. Sounds like everything they're doing sound like it is the most amazing thing on earth. And it's super enjoyable. I really like doing it. It's a lot like doing the podcast, and you know, I just get to talk about something that I really, really, as opposed to the podcast where I bitch about the things that annoy me. I get to talk about something that I really, really love, and I'm so excited about. And the best ones are ones with kids, where there'll be a school group that comes in and kids ask some pointing ass questions, and the adults sometimes are just sitting there and they don't know what to ask, and if I can get them involved, they start to ask questions. And usually there'll be like 3 or 4 people that ask the majority of the questions, but when it's like a school group for kids, they ask you some wild stuff, and you just got to keep talking to them. It's so much fun.
Keeps you on your toes.
I'm working with like really experienced artists usually, so I get to see them work up close and like learn something. Last week or the week before I did one, and the artist and I are there waiting to get started, and the venue manager comes in and she's like, they don't want to do the glass demo today. And we're like, what? And like, she's like, don't worry, you're gonna get paid, and you guys can still work if you want to, but you don't have to. And so he turns to me and he's like, do you want to just split this hour? I'll make something, you assist me, and then you make something and I'll assist you. And I said, yeah, let's do it. And so I helped him make a vase, and then I just asked him to teach me how to make a hemisphere bowl again. And so he helped me make a bowl and like go through all the steps and give me guidance the entire way. And we got paid for it. So that was really cool.
Nice. Yeah. I was going to ask you a glass blowing question this week, because I came across like an article, maybe it was a post on Twitter or something, X or something, but it was like they were going through the biological morphing of the cheeks of jazz players and glass blowers. And like, you know, you can picture like the Louis Armstrong cheeks that are just like,
there's a video of Dizzy Gillespie, I think, where the muscles in his cheeks broke down while playing, and he goes from like a normal person puffing their cheeks out to the like comedically large ones,
like a frog.
Yeah.
So is that something you've got to look forward to? Is
unlikely.
Your cheeks exploding like Dizzy Gillespie?
No, the guys that happened to in glass blowing are the ones that like do production glass 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Not, you know, the artists we work for, a long day in the shop is 6 hours, and
totally different.
Yeah, and you're not working as fast. Like the production guys like blast through, you know, all kind. And there's actually, so on Instagram, it's called Glass House Bangalore, I think. It's an Indian glass blowing studio that they make. They make hand blown stuff, but they make it at such a fast pace that it can be sold for super cheap, as opposed to like the stuff that I make that, you know, it costs me a bunch of money to make.
And jeans.
So, and that's what happens to those guys because they're puffing their cheeks up constantly all day, every day, and it breaks
Gotcha.
down. Yeah.
So anything else you want to update us on in the last little
Now,
bit?
what do you
or-
have going on?
Well, the last time we were on, I was talking about an upcoming show, and I was looking forward to it, and I ended up having to no-show it. And I hate doing that because I've been on that side before, the other side before, when we have to like rewrite a show like on the fly. And it almost seems like there's no point in planning a show anymore because somebody is going to not be able to perform, and we have to like rejig the whole thing. This time was my turn. I don't know. Like, I mean, probably people could tell on the show. I had a cough for at least the last 2 episodes that was just nagging. We're pretty sure we got a COVID because we had like this like weird string of like 4 days with like really weird symptoms. But then like it went away and then it came back and I had just this horrible cough that made me feel like my ribs were broken like after a while. And I thought it was allergy related. I really did. I thought it was allergy related because like my nose kept clogging up and I couldn't breathe through my nose and I could barely breathe through my throat or through my mouth. And so I ended up having to not do that. And that kind of sucked. But like thankfully, so we got back to where we live and I ended up going to a doctor and she ended up getting me some blood tests and turned out like I had like a full-blown bronchial infection that was pretty bad. And so I ended up having to go on antibiotics. And when I go on antibiotics here, I think I've mentioned this before in the doctor one where I have to like be extremely clear, like no penicillin.
No penicillin.
So thankfully, I mean, they got me on like, what was it? Azithromycin or something like that. And it knocked it out in a few days. And then I'm back on track. Everything's feeling a little bit better. And I got better in time for my court appearance. So this was not the restraining order one. This was actual, like my land case is finally being heard. I got to go. I didn't even know I was supposed to go because I was told the whole time that I would never have to answer any questions and I could just send my lawyers. But they're like, no, you've been summoned. You have to come because their side wants to ask you some questions. And I get there and like, because I was like a little bit unnerved because I was like, my Spanish is fine.
I've got a question, and you can say I can't answer it if it gives away too much information. But is the court like? Is it near you? Is it like in the capital?
So, no, it's in the capital of like my state.
Okay,
and
so you got to go to your state capital, which is like
and like when I bought the place, it was in a different state. And there was some gerrymandering that happened, and now I'm bumped into this other state. So if it was in the previous one, it would be like a 15-minute drive. But now the capital's 45 minutes away, which again it's not bad. Like it's not the end of the world or anything like that. And I don't mind going to that.
It's not like getting sued in New York.
What's that?
It's not like getting sued in New York.
Exactly. So I ended up having to get up real early and go there. And like, again, my Spanish is passable. I can make friends. I can piss people off if I want to. I can tell jokes. I can do all that kind of stuff. But like a legal proceeding and like answering questions. So my lawyer is like, don't worry. And he's always, don't worry. I got 2 lawyers and what?
You weren't allowed to have a translator present.
No.
Yeah.
No. Then I get there and they tell me, oh yeah, you could have. We weren't able to book one in time. I'm like, fuck yeah, I could have gotten one. Like, I know legal translators. I would have just flipped them a few bucks and got them out this way. That would have been a problem. Didn't matter. So the way that they set it up, it had, because like both sides kind of have to agree upon like, the type of questioning and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm told ahead of time, your questions are going to be basically true or false. Like they're just going to be true or false. Is this statement true? Is this statement false? And I'm like, okay, that sounds fine. And they come in there and they're like, what's your name? Or what's your name? And I tell them my name. And then they go, how old are you? I'm looking at my lawyer going like, okay, I guess these are fine. I tell them my age. And then they're like, what do you do for a living? And I'm like, again, what does this have to do with me having ownership and title? Okay, I'll tell you what I do for a living. And then they start with the true and false questions, right? So it's like, actually, no, they didn't. So then the next question was, on what exact date did you buy the property? And that's when I was like, can I look at my notes? And they're like, no, you cannot. And I'm like, this isn't a true or false question. And second, the process of buying a home here it takes months. So are you talking about like when I put a down payment, or are you talking about when the title got put in my hand? And meanwhile, they're a bitch of a lawyer. I'm going to back up for a second. I want to give you this visual of this lawyer. Okay. When you think of a lawyer who's trying to look like professional and stuff like that, you kind of you sort of have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's like the dude's in a suit. Women are generally in some sort of business formal-ish type attire. But this lady comes in and she's wearing this bright red shoulder pads blazer and like a tight halter top underneath and skin tight jeans and high heels that are like 4 inches off the ground and ankle bracelets. She looks like
She just come
like
from
a used car salesman, but it was ridiculous. So she starts to get a little bit bitchy. She's like, it's a simple question. You should know the date of the purchase of your home. But I don't know that. I don't know the exact date. I can tell you the month and year, but I can't tell you the exact date because before I started answering the questions, they told me, they warn you and they say, if you lie, it could come with a penalty of up to 10 years in prison.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, well, and then my lawyer, thank God, he kicks in and he's like, that is not the type of questioning that we had agreed upon. And I'd like to have that one stricken from the record. And sure enough, boom, off it goes. Okay, great. Don't have to answer that one. So then because they unsealed the questions in front of us, right? So my lawyer didn't get to see the questions ahead of time. So then again, more tricky questions. It's like, is this statement true? That, and they list off the person's name, all the family members' names, that they destroyed or broke your tejido, which I mean, or moved your tejido, which means fence, right? It means fence here. I think in other parts of Latin America, it means material or sheet or something like that. But I was like, no, they didn't break my fence or move my fence or anything like that. And then they asked this question and it was worded this way. They go, is this a true statement? They name all the people and then they say, are not occupantes precarios, like precarious occupants. That's the word they use for it. But they slip in that word no, because in Spanish, to say something is not, you put no before it. So I'm like, can you repeat the question? Because I would expect it to be, do you believe that they are precarious occupants? Mm-hmm. But the question was actually, no, are they not that? So she was trying to swing one on me. So I caught that and I was like, no, that's a false statement. They are precarious occupants. And then she proceeded to ask 2 more questions that were again not true or false. And my lawyer just put his hand on my shoulder. He's like, don't even answer it. That one's got to get struck from the record. That one's going to get struck from the record. And okay, all right. And then that was it for me. That was it. That was the whole reason I drove down. And I'm thinking to myself, what is the fucking point of this? I have a land title that you can verify is legal, is official, has gone through all the safeguards to make sure that everything is accounted for. and it says that it's mine and I should be able to use my property the way I want to use it. So I stuck around and listened to a few of their sides witnesses. And like all of them are like, do you know so and so? Do you know so and so? Like, do you know this lawyer? Do you know that lawyer? Do you know the names of the people? And then do you know me, like Joel? And then it was like it was funny because like they brought in 4 people. I had only met one of them myself. They were totally just dragged in from other parts because nobody in the immediate area actually likes them. And the guy that I had met, I had brought like potential buyers. He was like the groundskeeper, kind of like my employee for a different property. And I got along great with the guy. I brought like people to come and look at it because like there was other expats that were looking at buying property, and his was one of my favorites that I always wanted to bring people to. And I could tell my presence in there really shook him because he knew what he was doing was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could tell then that actually all of the answers that were given by these witnesses that they brought in didn't help their case. In fact, they hurt their case. And this guy actually admitted to meeting me or knowing me, or at least meeting me a few times. But the whole time, his hands were shaking and his feet were bouncing off the ground. Like he was shook. And so I just like, after they heard those, they were going to hear from that family. And I didn't want to be there for it because we do not like each other. And it's totally uncomfortable. So I went into town, bought some cigars, waited in the parking lot for a couple of hours. And then my lawyer came out and he was just grinning ear to ear. And he's like, that went great. That went so great. The next day was supposed to be my guys, my witnesses. Because if you're bringing in 4, I'm bringing in 4. So I brought in my neighbor groundskeeper guy. I brought in my massage therapist who got me this lawyer in the first place. I brought in my buddy from England who's lived here for 20 years. And then I brought in the local general store owner who's like a pillar of the community. Like this guy he knows everybody. Everybody buys everything from him, especially people who don't have vehicles. Like that's your central market. That's the place to go. And apparently that guy killed it, just killed it. Cause he knows both sides. He's known the family for like 40 years. He knows. And then basically he came through it and he said everything. He goes, I know all of this. I know when that property was made legally under title the first time with the father of the guy who is my adversary in this. I know who he sold it to, when he sold it, and then that guy sold to Joel's family. And he said, I'm not going to lie about anything. He goes, the reality is that he legally bought it. He should legally be allowed to use it, and he shouldn't even have to go through this whole process. And then they asked about our character. And so he's like, well, what about the other guy? And he's like, well, like he's known in the area and he's been there his whole life and his family are all around there. And he's been a customer of mine for, so many years. But he goes, and then they ask about me and he's like, yes, I met him as soon as he moved here. I really respect him. I know that he bought the property with clean money because apparently that's a thing here. Like it was all clean. Everything was fine. He helps out. He donates. He's charitable. He helps out in the community. I have no problem with the guy. And so afterwards, like apparently all my lawyers and all my witnesses, they drove together because it was a rainy day. And it was like not somber, but serious all the way out there. And apparently it went so well that they didn't even talk about the case on the way back. They were just joking and laughing and everything was fine.
Yeah.
But like the other lawyer, so another thing we had ordered for part of this was to have the judge himself and an actuary come to the property and see it for themselves.
Yeah.
And apparently that was also scheduled for that afternoon. So this was last Thursday. And it was pouring rain. And their lawyer was trying to get it bumped out, like get it to a different day. But and my lawyers were like kind of, passive and like, I guess, kind of thing like that. But then my buddy, the massage therapist who got me the lawyer, he stands up and he just starts chewing out my lawyers, telling them to grow a spine. And so they dug in and they got the judge and the actuary to come out that afternoon. So they come and they meet in my Quincho, like this little covered grilling area, like my patio. And then they went to go and take a look at the property, and take pictures and write details. But when they came back, it was like you seen those stills from that new Snow White movie coming out with like Rachel Zegler. Like when we talked about this, where Peter Dinklage was not wanting to have dwarfs. So for like a brief period of time, they had Snow White and her magical friends. And it was just this diverse cast of like, people tall and short and fat and all this kind of stuff. And so I'm watching, and coming up my driveway is the actuary. The judge is waiting in his car. Coming up my driveway is the actuary, and behind her is that entire family that I'm in this case against. And they just proceed to bring them into my home. And I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, what is this? And they're like, oh, you need to do this. We need to sign all the paperwork. I'm like, the fuck, you could just sign it with them. You're a professional witness. Nobody's going to doubt that you saw them sign it. And then just come over here and sign it with me. But when they were under my roof, man, like, because it was the most awkward, like just the most awkward thing. I'm there with my wife and it's pouring rain. So they're all underneath, everybody's in my roof, and they're just looking around because I got a bunch of stuff in there. I don't want them knowing what my stuff is, like I purposely never have them here. And so finally get that signed off and they go. But I told my lawyer after, I'm like, what the hell was that? And she goes, they never told me they were going to do that. I'm like, there was no reason for them to have done that. And in that family, there's a 17-year-old boy guy and a 21-year-old. I don't trust those guys. I don't like them. I don't trust them. And the 17-year-old, man, he's the one that was staring me down when I had all that footage when we were talking about the restraining order thing. Mm-hmm. And he was just like giving me the biggest hate eye you could ever see. Never hardly blinked, just stared at us the whole time. When they were walking back, he walked backwards so he could stare at us the whole time. And I was like, yeah, thanks for inviting this into my home, judge and actuary. And like the very next day, because again, they trespass all the effing time on the other side of the fence, and they walk past our house and they walk past our pool. Again, I got to get rid of them. Can't seem to block them from going in there. And my son saw them walk in there, and he just like watched them go by. And this 17-year-old turned aggressively, looked at my son and flipped them off for a while. I'm like, okay, like we are so done with these assholes. So apparently it was either this afternoon or tomorrow morning is the final bit where they're going to meet with this judge and go over all the evidence and go everything and make their final case. And then he'll make a ruling. Now, I don't know when he'll make the ruling. He'll make the ruling hopefully sooner than later. And then he'll have to make an order for them to leave. And so the question is, will they do it peacefully? And probably not. Yeah. And that's when the cops will have to come and escort them off the property, and the bulldozers and all this kind of stuff. And my lawyer's like, yeah, we're hoping that they go peacefully because it's going to be more costs for you if like we have to bring in the police and stuff. I'm like, hang on. You charged me 20 million guaranis. You told me it was going to cost all of that for everything. I paid all of it. And you said about police and you said about bulldozers. So that's in your budget. You should have covered that, but I can't have that conversation because I need them to finish the job. I need them to just get it done. So when we made that offer to them, they were rejected back in February. I had also offered to pay for the moving expenses and like hire a truck and some workers to help them move. I got a bunch of like extra building materials around the property. I was going to kick all those in. So if they want to fix up a roof or do something like that, I got doors, I got windows, I got bathroom materials. So we've kind of decided that once it gets decided, I'm going to right away jump in there and say that is still on the table. I'll still pay for all those things. And the reason why is because it'll just blow away better if they just go peacefully. Because if it ends up being with the cops, then the news is going to come out. Then like all the neighbors are going to think it's going to be a nightmare. And it'll probably be cheaper if I just pay for them to go this way. And so like, it's going to be like, I don't know, maybe 200 Canadian dollars. So like 150 US dollars to pay for the moving crew for the day. And that's it. It's so close. But on the other side of the road from them is this other idiot who doesn't live here. It's his vacation home. And when he's visiting, he's in party mode and he plays music 20 times louder than he should. And he plays it all day and they drink all day and they yell and hoot and holler all day. And I was told that he was thinking that once this family is gone, that he'll look to sell his property. I think probably because his property value would go up without having these bumpkins across the street. But like he likes them. He's friends with them. Every time he parties, they're over there. And, his isn't even under legal title. It's this thing called fiscal land, which means it's like in the process of being like legally, divided up and marked and boundaried and all that kind of stuff. And like originally I was thinking, okay, it'll probably be I'll make him an offer. Because not that I need his place. I just want him gone. And I want to protect from somebody else going there. So I was told like you could probably expect it to be like 25 to 30 million guaranis, which is in US dollars, like 4K, 3 or 4K. Right. And I just found out after this weekend, he's like, no, he's not selling for anything less than 100 million guaranis. That's like over, now we're talking like 12K US or something like that. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And then I found out, no, he actually doesn't even legally own the property. The bank does. So guess what I'm going to do?
Going to call the bank?
I'm just going to contact the bank and say, hey, is that for sale? And if so, how much you want for it, and see, because apparently there's like 5 hectares behind it that I can also lump in with it. And then I could basically have almost 10 hectares to myself. That gives me plenty of room for cows. Or if another expat family comes down, I can say, hey, I've got this land for sale. It's right near us. And then I would just, I wouldn't like gouge them or anything like that. I would just like try to get my money back and go with that. So that's the up-to-date legal saga. Yeah. So did you want to kick in here with right off the bat with one of your issues that you've got going?
Yeah, I've got a mini issue this week. Here's what I don't get. People that don't respect Sundays. So I'm not El Chaco's religious, right? Mm-hmm. You're very much we've had this conversation in private, and I'm putting you on the spot here, but he said many times about he doesn't do his like work on Sundays. That is
never.
And I think that is so cool. I don't have a philosophical or theological reason for not wanting to do stuff on Sundays. I do often have to work on Sundays because there are loadouts or managing shows and things. But I do kind of take it as a philosophy of when you have a day off, you need to not be engaged with work. Totally. I don't want to like think about work. When I go out with friends, work inevitably comes up, and I try and always steer the conversation away from it. Let's talk about something else, because right. That's not what I want. I want to separate my work and my life. And what I really don't get is the people that won't allow you to do that. They want to inject themselves, especially in being work, into your thing. And this one just happens to have been on a Sunday. So this past Sunday, my buddies and I got together for like a boys' day. We a few months ago went in and bought a still together, and we haven't had the time to get together and cook our mash. And so finally, like, our 3 schedules aligned, and we got together. we at my buddy's house. He smoked a chicken on his grill and made these
Nice.
like potatoes that were fucking incredible. We brought, snacks and beer, and we smoked cigars and pipe tobacco, and cooked our mash, got it all put together. It's in the bucket fermenting, and just like, I mean, I got over there at 1 o'clock ish and didn't leave until 10. We just sat outside, mostly sat outside. I was pretty well sunburnt by the end of the day, and it was a really great relaxing day, and it was this one little oasis in between 2 weeks of shows that were hellacious, and now what's going to be 4 weeks of shows that's hellacious, and this week specifically being terrible. And I really just wanted like this little pause to take a knee and not think about my work for
You need
24
it.
hours. Yeah.
You need it. Yeah.
So about 5 or 6 in the afternoon, I get a text into our work group chat from my boss asking, because this group that's comes in the next morning, they need to change their rehearsal schedule on Friday in order to, because they have a last minute conflict that they didn't know about that they need to work around. And can we accommodate this? And that's asked as a question. Can we accommodate this? And so I answered into the group chat and just said, as I am the only person facility managing their technical rehearsals Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, no, I don't want to work until 10 on Saturday, on Friday, because that's not 10, it's 11, and then be back again at 9 to sit there for 12 hours. So no, we can't do it. And then,
that begs that whole can and should, or may we, because like, can we is like, yeah, technically I can get it done, but I don't want to, and I'm not going to, right? So like, you got to stand up for yourself in those cases, for
exactly.
Yeah.
So then it's signed off with a message from the boss that says, I will check my schedule and we can discuss. And so the next morning we discuss, and that's not important. But the other thing that happened that same day is I get an email from the audio engineer for this show asking to have all of their audio equipment pulled by 11 a.m. the next morning. And it's like, dude, fuck you. You can't send emails at 7 o'clock on a Sunday and expect work to get done in 2 hours the next morning. You can't expect that email to be seen until 9:30. And so I replied to it the next day and said, no, we probably won't be able to pull all of your equipment for you. We did pull all his equipment for him, and then he didn't show up until almost 1. So it's classy. Like, fuck you, dude. You should have looked at, and I pissed off at my boss too, because when that request came in for more time, the answer should have been, today is the only day my staff has had off in the last 2 weeks. So I'll talk to them about this Monday morning when they're in during regular work hours, and I'll let you know in a couple of days. And
I wish the bosses would
injected that shit into my day, because then I'm sitting there with my friends and just immediately pissed off. I was having such a good time. We were laughing and joking, and then I'm like, man, fuck this shit, and back into like mental work mode, which I don't want to be in because I'm not there. And I think that like this age of technology and instant notification of everything has really so blurred the lines between work and home, and you get, and it not in a positive way. Employers have this thing of this lie of work-life balance, and they don't give a fuck if you're working 40 hours in 3 days as long as the job gets done. They don't care that they can just, that it's Sunday and you're not working, because they can just clickety clack on their phone and fucking fuck up your whole day. It's like, without this instant connected technology, you wouldn't have been able to get to me, right? Take this same story and roll it back to 1998.
Yeah.
Right.
You would have had to wait till Monday morning, like a regular person.
Yeah. I'm at my friend's house. Best case, you could call my home phone to see if, but I wouldn't have been home.
Well, and the other thing is that your availability, theoretical availability, like the availability to even contact you at that time, has expanded without your consent. Do you know what I mean? Like, none of us consented to, yes, you can contact me at all hours for my work.
Mhm.
And on top of that, if I did consent to it, then I would expect my compensation to reflect that amount of extracurricular response time. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
like I have a rule, like my rule is absolutely no work on Sunday. None. I don't even like making other people work. Like if I have to buy food or something like that, I guess. Like if my family's out and about, but like we won't go see a movie. We won't go and like buy clothes or do anything like that on Sunday. Cause again, it would be hypocritical of me to make somebody else work. I tell, yes, my groundskeeper stays and watches our place, but I'm not like sticky about it. Like he wants to make sure that our place is taken care of when we're out of town. But like if he says like, oh, and by the way, I'm gonna finish the pool or I'm gonna finish this and that. No, you're not. You're not
Yeah.
doing any of that stuff on my
Relax.
no, you're not. And then I've had these conversations with my boss or my main client where, you know, like he forgets sometimes. Like it's always been my rule ever since I
Mhm.
started working with him. But I, you know, it still comes up from time to time where like one of his clients will hit me up at like 9:30 p.m. on a Saturday and be like, we're putting this thing out on Monday. Can you get an article ready? And it's like, nope, I can't. Or if I do, I'm going to stay up till midnight at the most, 11:59, and I'll work on it. If it's done, it's done. If it's not, it's not. But I don't respond to emails. I don't respond to group chats. I don't respond to any of that stuff on a Sunday. It just never happens. And I'll tell the person on the Monday if they, it's like, Joel, hey, Joel. I've had this on Sundays and I just look at it and I just mute the conversation and then I
Yep.
come back to it on Monday. And what I've found is that nobody's put out by it. You know what I mean? Like, no, like
Mhm.
there's no activity, there's no project that is so like pressing that me taking a Sunday off is going to throw everything off. Because at the end of the day, I'm the one generating the content. So you're going to do it. You're going to get it done at the time that I'm available. And that's
Yeah.
it. And like I had that conversation with my client. Like he forgets and he's like, oh, we'll get you to work once at a time. Well, you know, just sometimes you got to do it. And I'm like,
No.
bro, not even for $1 million would I take a day on a Sunday to work. Not even for $1 million. Not for $10 million. Not for $1 billion. That's how much I will not work on a Sunday. That's final. You can't bribe me out of it. It's never going to happen. And it's my whole family life is better because of it. So, you know, it's just off the table. Don't even suggest it again. But I have to remind them every couple of years. But yeah, people who don't respect Sundays, man, Sunday is special.
And
Sunday is special. It's its own thing.
and if it's
And
not
I used to not like it when I was like in school because it just meant like, oh, I got to go to bed early so I can get to school on Monday. And I hate
Mhm.
Mondays. No, I love Sundays now. Sunday is like hands down my favorite day of the week. You know, if we have to get up and drive 2 hours to go to mass, so be it. We get up early. That means after mass, I get to have a nice brunch and then come home. Or if we're not going to mass because the priests are out of town, I get up later and we get to have a nice brunch at home. And I always have my British friend over for Sunday dinner and we have a wonderful time. And again, if a work conversation pipes up, I just go charge my phone in my bedroom and I leave it there and I don't deal with it anymore because you just have to do it.
And I'm not like, again, I sometimes it's not a Sunday. Some if you don't have that theological basis, sometimes your days off are Monday and Tuesday or Friday. You get Friday, whatever the day is. You have to. We need to advocate as like a culture, advocate for our time away,
Mhm.
and and advocate for one another's time away
Yeah.
from work. And but not be like crazy about it where you're like, I don't touch light switches on Sundays because that's kind of fucking
I
psychotic.
heat the water all day Saturday and then I pour it into one cup and then I pour the cup into the none of that.
Yeah. So because like, you know, El Chaco and I talked about this once, and because a lot of times what I do on Sundays when I have him off is blow glass in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's like, and you said, but that's not working.
No,
I mean, it's physical. It's a labor. It's intense.
right, but it's a
Intensive thing,
passion,
but
it's a
it's a
hobby.
passion. It's a recharging.
If I'm
Yeah,
painting a painting for me and my wife or something, that
yeah.
doesn't count.
We cooked, this mash yesterday, which is
Mhm,
technically labor.
mhm.
But it was in like camaraderie, and it was us
Right.
de-stressing from and disengaging from the mundane bullshit of Monday through Friday.
Mhm.
And yeah, so people who don't respect Sundays, whatever Sunday that whatever form your Sunday takes, you are bad people, and I don't like you.
Good
You need
issue,
to
man.
you need to and I'm also the same way about like work emails after 5 p.m.
Oh, that's a good rule.
Yeah, I people who listen to the show remember when I was running things in Tulsa, how often my phone went off like during the show. I've become a huge advocate for my time away from work, and one of the only good things about this technology is the ability to set up do not disturbs and schedules for things. So like my work email doesn't notify me on it notifies me on my phone between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. or
Perfect.
not maybe it's 9 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Right.
Monday through Friday. Friday at 8 p.m. the notifications turn off and they don't
Good.
turn back on until Monday morning.
Perfect.
So you can't expect to send me an email at 8:01 p.m. on Friday and think that I have seen it Monday morning, because I probably not going to see it until I sit down at my desk. But
That's, and again, nobody's losing a project over it. Nobody's collapsing a business over it. Like it's dumb.
yeah,
So
but that's my little mini issue. Let's
that's a good one, man.
yeah. What's your main issue this week?
Here's what I don't get. Plastics. Um, you ever seen the movie The Graduate
I
with
have not.
Dustin Hoffman? No?
Mm-mm.
Or you? Oh, I mean, it's a classic. You should probably see it. It's really good.
Is that you're trying to seduce me, Mrs.
It is.
Robinson? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But it's a cool movie. It's got great soundtrack. It's got great, like, it's very cinematically well done. But there's a scene in it where the guy's coming back. He's coming back he's graduated from college, and he gets taken aside by his other character, and the guy says, "I'm going to tell you one thing that's going to change your life. Change your life." Oh, okay. He's like, "Yeah, you got to listen to me. This is the one piece of advice that I'm going to give you. Plastics, plastics, plastics." And he's like, basically at the beginning, it's set in the '60s, so it's like kind of when plastics were kind of starting to creep into the commercial sphere and be in things. And so here we are now, probably 80 years later, or not, no, not 80 years later,
60.
60 years later.
Yeah.
60 years later. And plastics are in everything, like everything. And if you start going down that rabbit hole of like seeing what they're in or what you want to, like, because okay, so you could probably say, oh, okay, you're being a total conspiracy theorist about it. It's like, no, I'm not. Apparently, like, microplastics are getting stuck in us.
Yeah.
Right. So we've all heard about like BPA, and if you're like buying like a water bottle or something like that, like it's BPA free, which means that everything else is BPA. And this plastics thing is bigger than anybody actually thinks about. They're literally in everything. So there's these researchers that have just come out with a study of testicles in men and in dogs. Literally every single one of us has microplastics that have accumulated over the course of our lives, which are endocrine disruptors, which mean that they are actually messing with your hormones, and they're turning the frickin' frogs gay. And it's not just BPA; it's a whole bunch of these things, the phthalates and these PFAs and all this kind of stuff. That cigarette you're smoking has all kinds of microplastics put into it to regulate the burn rate, to regulate the humidity of it, in the filter, all those kind of things. And like, if you try to get away from them, this is the other thing. Like, so we don't drink a lot of like soda. we don't drink a lot of soda in our house. Like, we don't drink Coke, Pepsi, none of those kind of things. Occasionally. So, but when you go to the restaurant, so when you go to a restaurant in North America, typically they'll refill your water. They'll bring you water, right? That's not a thing here, right? Like you can't really trust the tap water enough, I think, to just bring tap water. So you have to buy bottled water. Bottled water is one of the worst offenders of this, and especially if it gets hot. So the thing is that if you get these plastics that gets left in the sun, like, or on a truck that's in Paraguay where it's like, 100 degrees every so often, this stuff just leaches into everything. In Canada, when we were still there, I remember when we were buying our house, and the one thing that came up in the inspection was it had PVC piping, which apparently, like they stopped doing back in Calgary after the 90s, or in the early 2000s, because this PVC piping, when they would be making the house, if it got like stacked outside, what they'll do is they'll build like a bunch of houses at once. So a lot of the materials will come in and they'll just sit there until they get put in. So this PVC piping, if it gets left in the sun, it's gonna degrade, it's gonna leach. And that's the other thing about these stupid plastics, right? So you know about all these places that like have these like plastic bag bans, or they're charging you for them, which again is stupid. I get that, but this stuff does not degrade. It does not. Even the ones that say biodegradable don't degrade. Do you know how they biodegrade? They have to do it in the sun. You have to leave them out in the sun, and that's how they disintegrate and do it. Otherwise, they're stuck in the ground. And then when the rain comes and the water comes and the temperature rises, falls, this stuff gets leached into the water system, and there's just no way to get away from plastics. They're in everything. The clothing you wear. I mean, even if you buy an organic shirt or an organic cotton something, doesn't matter. The tag's going to have plastic on it. The threading will often have plastic on it. And like everything is wrapped in plastic. I didn't really think about this until I moved out here, when I don't have like regular garbage pickup. Like we have to bag everything and then truck it to the road where there's a bin. And so you get a little bit more cognizant of like your waste in the process. And so when it comes to food waste, we pretty much have none, right? Like we either compost, or we feed to the pig, or we feed to the chickens. Like there's pretty much no food waste. So the only waste we produce is just packaging. It's just plastic packaging. And it's in everything and on everything. And I get that like plastics came in and made goods a lot cheaper in a good way from your pocket perspective, but cheaper in a bad way, in that it gives them an excuse to not help you keep your products up to date. Everything's disposable after that. Like we used to have cars that actually had metal, but like they don't have metal anymore. Everything's plastic. Have you seen these things crumple in like, crash tests and stuff like that?
Yes,
like,
I've seen
everything's
them in
just
person.
shit plastic. And it's everywhere. And then we're producing, like the level that we are producing of plastic is off the charts. You cannot fathom how much we have. And again, these plastics are used, like if you're taking supplements, vitamins, well, what are you going to get? You're going to get it in a capsule. Oh, well, that's got, it's made out of vegetable, and it's, yeah, but not entirely. And these microplastics, they have another word for them, sometimes called forever plastics or forever chemicals. And they are forever. They're stuck in you. They're in your balls. They cross the blood-brain barrier, and they're getting into our brains. And we've seen this. Like, I mean, how many times have you seen about like testosterone counts having, like getting like sliced in half every generation? And like the testosterone counts going down by a percentage every single year. It's plastics. I mean, it's not just plastics, but plastics have a lot to do with it, because they're like I said, they're endocrine disruptors. And a lot of these things, for example, the BPA, it binds to the estrogen receptors in your body. And so what it's doing is it's basically just teaching your body, male bodies especially, to have a higher amount of estrogen in the system than it normally would. And so that's why we're getting all these soy boys. That's why we're getting all these, trans situations. Like, it's not 100% that, but you got to know that that's a factor. Right. And so, yeah, and it's like, if you start even I've talked about seed oils on this show before and like wanted to get away from seed oils. That's hard enough as it is, but it's doable. It's totally doable. You'll never get away from plastics. You'll never get away from plastics. Your toothpaste has those micro beads, or the toothpaste like holder or container, shampoo bottles, your mattress on your bed, any kind of polyester, anything is going to have this stuff. And even like the receipts you get from like when you get a printed out receipt at the store, that'll have a plastic coating, a microplastic coating on it, and that has BPA in it that'll get into your system and it'll mess with your testosterone levels. It's insane. Like I don't know, man. Like there isn't really an actual cure for this because, and I was bringing this up. I was testing ChatGPT on this the other night. Like my wife was saying to me, we were joking about how like cigar containers, cigarettes, and all this kind of stuff. They have these giant freaking comical warnings on them.
Yeah.
And it's this weird thing where we have normalized the total demonization of nicotine and tobacco, where it's the only thing you will see the government give you these giant freaking warnings on everywhere on the planet for some reason, right? But there's no warning on alcohol. There's no warning on any of these plastic things. There's no warning about seed oils. And I'd argue that that is a far bigger health problem than this guy, So yeah. I don't know. What do you think about plastics, Tab?
So what I think is interesting is we look back in history, right? We look at like the Industrial Revolution and how we created all this pollution and coal was bad and oil was bad and it was destroying the environment. And they show you the pictures of like all the smokestacks burning coal in St. Louis in the 1880s and how it was all smog filled and everything. And the rivers were unswimmable. Now we live in this modern, sleek, clean world where we like clean up the planet. But what we did was we kind of traded like a very obvious toxic pollutant for a
like much an invisible more invader,
much more sinister and yes, I'm not saying like coal was great and that living during the Industrial Revolution was all peachy keen or anything, but we traded up, we traded to a new devil, and now you have like this. I think I saw that this like super tanker that's collecting garbage from the giant Pacific Ocean plastic.
I was going to bring those things up.
Yeah. And I don't remember what the number was. It was like its 50th big batch. And it has this thing that's the size of a football field, this big net, and it's hauling into. But then I'm thinking, where are you going to put those?
They sell them to third world countries. They basically not sell them. They pay third world countries to take them on.
To have a big plastic dump pile, yes. At least it's not in the ocean kind of thing, because there's nowhere to send it. There's no way to get rid of it. Well, and it's in everything. I mean, you would be hard pressed to find something that doesn't have plastic in it, unless you were to say you wanted to buy like a beautiful glass pumpkin. There are no plastics in this beautiful glass pumpkin. But I would probably have to ship it to you in some kind of plastic filled container. So
but the other thing is that you bring that up. It's like I'm sure somebody's brought recycling onto this show.
Oh yeah, I brought in because recycling is a scam.
It's total scam, but
yeah,
especially with plastics. They don't actually recycle plastics that much.
Yeah, most of it. And you could my sister got really into recycling and was telling me about, so all your plastic stuff. I bet this is a big plastic cup. It doesn't. But it has the recycling logo and a number. And yes, of those numbers, only like 2 of them can actually
get recycled.
Everything else is just unusable. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when they recycle it, they just like blend it up into little pieces, melt them down into little beads, and then try to reform them in something else. It ends up costing like 20 times the amount to use recycled plastics, so nobody does it. And then on top of it, it's again, it's super weird. Like, I'm not anti-oil. I think oil is necessary, right? I think it's gonna be necessary for a very long time. It's a huge thing. And yet in Canada, they're so anti-oil in the government level. It's completely killed my province. And like, you're never but the thing is that all these like greenheads, they don't factor in that they use plastic in everything. And who's like one of the top 3 plastic producers in North America? ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil is one of the top 3 producers. You got Dow Chemical, you got BASF. These are massive corporations that are just churning out the plastic. And you know that the process that makes it is not environmentally sound. And I'm glad you brought up about the coal thing. It's a whole other issue at some point in time I'll bring in, but like, I like keeping the environment clean. And
Yeah.
I don't want it. I don't want smog everywhere. I don't want any of those things. I don't believe in like climate alarmism. I don't believe in human made climate change. But, I do believe in pollution because you can see pollution, you can feel pollution, you can taste it sometimes. And in this regard, it's so hypocritical when it's like the biggest thing they'll do is attack something like straws or bags. And it's like, how about we get rid of that little cellophane wrapper around everything that I buy? How about that like giant pack that I have to like cut open to get in that afterwards is strictly going
Just
to the trash?
Yeah.
Like, you can do better.
I had the exact same thought when all the straw bans and stuff were coming in. Those clamshell packagings that are impossible to open.
Yeah.
That is way worse impact than a straw, especially at the time living in Oklahoma. Like, the chances of me taking a straw and throwing it out my car window, of that straw hitting the ocean, basically none.
Well, and the weird thing too is like, again, like, okay, take the straws out of the equation, right? So you're sipping a drink because they try to bring in those cardboard ones, which are coated in what?
Plastic.
Plastic. And then and they suck. They're the worst. They don't suck when they collapse on themselves. But, like, we have all these like makeshift crappy, like, look, we're doing something actions that don't do anything. Like, they don't do anything. Like, if you want to get rid of straws, so be it. We can sip out of a cup. We can sip out of a bottle. But then you got like in Europe, now they've got those plastic bottles that they can't take the top off. Like, they stay attached to the bottle. And
so you can't refill it?
No, I think it's just so that the cap doesn't go into the trash or it gets recycled along with the bottle, because most of the time you don't keep the cap. But the thing is, then again, in these other studies, it's like the amount of microplastics that leach into your drink exponentially goes up every single time you reopen a pop bottle. So it's like, again, it always blows my mind, because like we've got these public demons that, like, okay, tobacco's bad, nicotine is bad, so we got these giant, we can't even show them in the store. They got to be behind a big thing now. We don't even like let you know we have them. You just have to know a guy who knows a guy that like they can sell them to you. That's it. But when it comes to, like, man, they put this plastic crap in literally everything, like tea bags. Yeah. Tea bags have them. And that's the other thing. Like, I remember, like, because I didn't catch on to the plastic thing until much later. But my wife, when we first started dating, because I used to like bring like Tupperware or whatever to work and then like microwave it. And she's like, you don't eat out of a microwave plastic container, do you? And I'm like, is that a bad thing? And she's like, yeah, it's a horrible thing. Like, it totally leaches into your food. And that's not good for you. And so, like, I haven't done that since. But at the same time, like, you can't escape it. Like, you just can't escape it unless you live on a farm and you eat potatoes all day. And that's it. Like, I mean, it's in everything. It's in your dog's testicles. How did it get there?
I saw a thing where they like found one of those tribes that doesn't have contact with civilization and found microplastics in them too. So even if you go live in the
Everywhere.
woods and eat a potato, you eat nothing but potatoes, you are going to have plastic in you.
How are we getting out of this?
Yeah.
Is this ever going to get fixed?
I don't
are we
think so.
doomed
No,
forever?
I think it's just, yeah, it's in there forever. And maybe at some point we will eliminate plastic or eliminate the type of plastic, create something new, a new thing, but that'll probably also have horrible consequences. I mean, it's like phthalimide was a miracle cure, and then, oh, it's making kids with fucked up hands.
Yep.
And so every technological innovation, every like societal innovation has this underbelly, and now after 60 years we're finally putting together that like maybe we shouldn't have put everything in cheap
Plastic.
materials. Maybe we should have kept like putting milk in glass bottles and using metal for things that you need to stand the test of time and weather. And but then also that stuff would cost more, and people, it's
Well,
that
there's a
inflation where
convenience.
they don't like change the size of the cereal. They don't change the size of the cereal box, but they reduce how much weight's in there so that the
Yes.
price stays the same, but you're actually technically paying more.
Yeah.
That's what plastics did. It's like, oh yeah, cars still cost the same amount they did before, even though they don't. But now they're 67% plastic.
Yeah, and it's like, even if you're trying to get away from it from a packaging standpoint, it's like you go to the grocery store, you get your produce. What do you put it in? Plastic bag. Oh, I have a reusable bag. Yeah, what's that made out of? Fucking plastic, right? Like, and cooking, right? So again, I got onto the seed oils thing, and it's like you go to a restaurant and anything's fried. Well, guess what? You're going to be, having those seed oils. Non-stick pans have that coating on them too, and that stuff leaks into you or into your food and into you.
And nonstick pans, you have to use plastic utensils, because if you use metal, you'll scratch the coating, and then
Exactly. So switch to cast iron, but the restaurants aren't going to switch to cast iron. That will ruin their whole operation. And so they sometimes use just stainless steel, right? But like you're not in the kitchen. You don't know what's going on back there. And again, everything that they prepare, all the daytime chef cooking and prepping and all that kind of stuff like that, it's just going to get put into under plastic. I was even reading about like cellophane, like saran wrap, and it's just constantly leaching into the food that it's in. And so we're stuck with this. And every year more plastics get put into everything. So our kids are so screwed. Like there's just no way around it. And so I don't know. I would have loved to have found some sort of comedy to bring to this one, but when I was thinking of it, I was like, this is a big freaking issue, man. Like it is literally in everything.
It's funny. So one of the things that's like near and dear to my heart, Lego, that's just plastic building bricks, right? And Lego is gone through this whole green initiative of making their stuff more environmentally friendly by, because plastic waste is bad and all this stuff. And I've always thought it's ridiculous because no one like gets Lego bricks and then it's just like, I'm just gonna throw these in the river.
Yeah, unless they come in like a Kinder Surprise egg or something like that. But
at the same time, every Lego set you buy, they come sorted in these thin plastic bags, and you do just throw those away.
Yep.
And so they're like making all these strives to not have waste plastics and all this stuff, but then at the same time, it's like you sent me a box that's like a third full of trash.
Yeah.
That I'm just going to put in the trash can.
Why do you need the plastic bag inside of it? You don't. Just put it in a cardboard box and it'll shake like a cereal. There's no need for that plastic to keep it all together in there. I guess maybe for sorting, but you don't really need it. Or you can make a cardboard egg, clamshell kind of thing inside, and then just having little divots, and that's it.
Sealed paper or something. I don't know.
Totally. But that's my issue.
It's a great issue. Well, that brings us to the middle of our episode, which means it's time for The Open Source News Network. We'll take news from any source as long as we already agree with what they're telling us. The Open Source News Network. I've got some news stories here that were sent to me by El Chaco himself. This one's probably been done to death because this was a couple of weeks ago, but I do think that it is fascinating. The Disney a couple weeks ago had argued in court that Dr. Kanako Porn Tansuan who died in October 2023 because her meal at Disney World contained nuts and dairy, which are well-known allergens. Rather than contest the facts or litigate the merits of those allegations, Disney wants the case sent over to an arbitrator instead of being handled in a court because the widower signed up for Disney's streaming service, Disney Plus, and in doing so signed a contract, terms of service, which agreed that any and all disputes of the company would be decided through the use of a mandatory binding third-party arbitration. Attorneys for the woman's estate are imploring the judge to reject the incredible argument. They say that Disney's position would mean anyone who signs up for Disney Plus will forever have waived the right to a jury trial enjoyed by them in any future estate to which they are associated. As can be seen from the prior sentence, this argument borders on the surreal. Disney is obviously an evil corporation.
Evil. Yep.
And this story is insane, and it's a great argument for pirating all of the content you want because these like terms of service, these arbitrary terms of service are going to are getting really, really out of hand. And for a company as big as Disney and arbitration is a bullshit thing anyway, because third party, non-biased arbitrator, right? But Disney pays the arbitrator to be on their, to be under contract for the arbitration. So if I'm the arbitrator, why would I ever rule against Disney? Because then I'm going to stop getting that money because they'll go find someone else.
They'll find a better arbitrator. Yeah.
It's a huge scam. And I white hot hate Disney. I'm glad that I've never signed up for Disney Plus. I hope that this gets thrown out and they get the shit stomped out of them.
And that's the thing, right? What? Why is that in there for Disney Plus?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that even in there for Disney Plus? That's ridiculous. Secondly, again, you straight up murdered a lady. They weren't even asking for much. I think I learned it was something like $24,000 to basically cover funeral expenses and a couple of other things. It wasn't like they were going in there with a neck brace on and trying to milk it for all it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
This was how many times does Disney have to show its evil face? And I mean, they tried to Barbara Streisand this one to make it not go out and you just pay you killed this lady.
Yeah, just pay the money.
This lady.
You got it.
And she repeatedly asked them to confirm that these things were going to be allergen free for her repeatedly, and was reassured repeatedly. That's negligence. That's criminal negligence, right?
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. Just shave $20,000 or $40,000 out of the next Captain Marvel movie and pay these people what you owe them because you killed a family member.
Oh, well, exactly. I mean, again, one of these days I'm going to bring in movie budgets as an issue because I think movie budgets are a sham. I think that they're all a money laundering operation because there is no freaking way that the Acolyte cost, that many. I think it was something like $25 or $50 million per 45-minute episode. That's absurd. There's no way that could possibly be the case. But I think it's one of those things where it's like a $900 government hammer, where there's just constant scamming and skiffing, and the people who own the shares in the company are just doing so. They own the other companies that they contract out to, and they can just write a blank invoice for however much they want, and they get it. Because they used to say, oh, it's because the stars are expensive. Well, guess what? We don't have stars anymore. There's no stars anymore. So how the hell are your movies going to $450 million just to make? I know you're doing reshoots because you don't know how to write anything, but it still doesn't add up. So yeah, Disney, man, they are near the top of my list of companies I wish would die a horrible death and go away forever.
Yeah.
I don't think because if you look at all the other things that ABC and Disney Corp like own, it's insane how much media they put out, and I really wish they would go away. And especially when you get just even a little, we've heard about this story. Think about all the stories they've buried. Think of all the stories that never made it through.
The other thing about Disney or this story and specifically is that I think it really is showcases the fact that more and more we live in a corporatocracy where
Totally.
like the government exists to uphold the profits of corporations and not protect the people anymore. And I really look for I hope for a day where, you know, Disney now owns 40% or more of like the entertainment industry, movie, television, and like at what point do you look at that and say this is really becoming more of a monopoly again? This is a lack of diversity of ideas, and you guys need to be broken apart. You can't own all of these like sub studios and pretend like you're in competition with yourselves, because you're not. And Hollywood in general is not in competition with itself anymore, but
No.
you know, through backdoor deal kind of stuff. But like for one thing to be amassing so much influence is, I think, very dangerous.
Well, you just said like you don't think that the government's looking to protect the people. I would argue that they're just symbiotic with the corporatocracy. I think they're just another head of the Hydra. You know, like I think that the government and big corporations work hand in hand. They're on the same team. They're on each other's boards, and it doesn't really. I mean, you saw Mark Zuckerberg just this week or put out his statement saying that he was pressured by the Biden administration to shut down any and all, you know, dissenting views on COVID. I mean, just the fact that I said COVID, I'm pretty sure that if somebody comes back to this episode and watches it on YouTube, there'll be a freaking little disclaimer underneath.
Yeah.
Because they're again, why would Facebook care? Why would Meta care? Why would it matter unless they were strong armed into doing it? Like they have other advertisers. It's not just Pfizer. It's not just Johnson and Johnson. So they're all just working together to push this thing together and get those plastics into your balls. But you know, like it's a yeah, the Disney thing. That one. Has there been an update on this one? Because that is a little old, but I'm wondering if there's been an
Not that
update
I've
on
seen. Court's
Yeah, I
move
haven't
slow.
checked on that.
Yeah. I've got another one here from Japan. A lonely dolphin has been blamed for a spike in attacks on beachgoers in Japan, with experts warning the aquatic animal may be lashing out due to sexual frustration. More than 45 people have been injured by a dolphin in Wasaka Bay, about 200 miles west of Tokyo, since 2022. And after examining photos and videos, one maritime expert told the New York Times he thinks that the same male Indo-Pacific bottlenose dolphin, Ryoichi Matsubara, the director of the Echizen Matsushima Aquarium in Fuki, said that the same animal is likely behind all 16 attacks off the beaches since July 21st. The dolphin may be exhibiting mating behavior, and adding the creature was seen trying to press his genitals against people. Even so, Matsushima said that many of the beachgoers were bitten after approaching or attempting to touch the animal. So watch out for dolphins, because they will screw you.
Yeah, and I love the wording on it too. You know, it's like sexual frustration. There was like a guy who was molesting young girls at like a water park in Canada, and like I think he got off because he was, you know, he claimed that he was sexually frustrated, and so we can't let these dolphins keep getting away with these things just because it's day culture. You know, like we gotta be on. We gotta be on top of this.
Can you imagine like going from 0 to 60 on like carrying, you know, people like dolphins, they think they're cute and everything, but I imagine an encounter like this.
I've heard they're quite rapey. Actually.
Yeah, I've heard that
definitely
too.
heard that before. And
but what I think the scientist is trying to say is, because he's saying it's all one dolphin, I think he's trying to say like not all dolphins. Some, not all dolphins.
Yeah, it was a mostly peaceful. It was a mostly peaceful day at the beach.
Look at all these other dolphins not committing rapes on the beach. Anyway, well, this has been the Open Source News Network, the only news network where we take any source as long as it's from has the same position we already held when we went looking for the news sources. Open Source News Network. The same. We've only had the one news network the entirety of this show's run.
Yes.
It's always been the same one. And that means with that taken care of, we're going to say just thank you to all of the generous contribution from viewers over the years and for still listening. 7 years strong, 361 episodes. Thank you for being part of our lives and letting us be part of yours for all these years. And we hope you continue to have us in your cars and your runs and your time at the gym or whatever else you're doing. You're hiding from your family in the basement like I am. And speaking of hiding in the basement, I'm going to go refill my water and find out why my cats are trying to kill one another.
Cool. Break time.
Be right back.
Who didn't go for a pee break? Show me in the comments. Who's the pizza guy that you guys are talking about? Who is this pizza guy? Am I forgetting a reference? Oh, that guy. Yeah. I forgot about the homeless pizza guy reference. I got it explained to me. Thank you, Deely18.
Deely18.
Did I pronounce that right?
Oh my God. I got up from this chair and suddenly realized how sweaty I am.
I'm the opposite, man. It's so cold
it's
down
freezing.
here still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're having like a heat wave, temperatures up in the hundreds. It was 107 today in the hot shop. It's miserable.
I would be more than happy to have it in the hundreds again right now. Just boiling, because then I can fill my pool and get back on track. My joints feel different. I don't have to go to I don't have to go to massage as much, but yeah.
All right. Well, let's get back into some issues, shall we? Here's what I don't get. Rewards programs. I'm so over rewards programs. So I joined, and this is just going to be like, Tab's talking about going to the gym again. What a surprise! Guy loses a bunch of weight, and suddenly all of his issues are about going to the gym. But it's more than that. So I joined Planet Fitness in March, and when I joined Planet Fitness, I got signed up for Planet Fitness Rewards, and every time I went to the gym, I get 3 points. If I went 8 times a month, I got some bonus points. And then I got points I think I got points on my birthday. But I had you got points. And then you could spend the points on something. You could get like a water or a soda. And if you got like 2,000 points, which would take you forever, you could get a month off. You could get a month free on your subscription. And then like a month and a half ago, I get this email. They're like, we're retiring Planet Fitness Rewards. You can redeem your points until you're going to stop earning points on July 31st, and you can redeem your points until September 1st. And I went and looked, and I had enough points where I could get an energy drink or 2 waters. And I was like, well, thanks for fucking nothing.
But working your ass off for plastic bottled water.
Yeah. And there's a water fountain in the place. So, so and actually I went to one of them recently. I went to a different one than I normally go to. And one of the water fountains said, this water fountain is only for filling up water bottles, not for sipping. And I thought, fuck you. It's a water fountain. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want with it.
Did that change it like COVID or something or what?
No, I think it's just an asshole sign. They make things that mount where water fountains go that only have a water bottle filler. If you want it to be that, put one of those in. But if you have the tray that comes out that I can put my mouth on, then I'm going to take a sip from it if I need it, you shit heels. But what it ended up bringing back to me was all these times that I've signed up for rewards programs just to have the rug pulled out from underneath me. And it just pisses me off to no end. Because speaking of plastics, Lego did the same thing several years ago. So
I think you told this before, like when you were working there, or no?
I might have talked about it when it happened a couple of years ago, but it's now happened a second time. So the first time I went to the Lego store with Tim the Handlebreaker, actually, it was in like 2010, I think, maybe, and bought a Lego set, and they're like, are you a Lego VIP member? And I was not, and they gave you a little card, and it was a very simple program. For every $100 you spent at the Lego place, you got 100 points. For every dollar you spent, you got a point, and for every 100 points you got, you could redeem it for $5 off. So it's basically 5% cash back on buying Lego from Lego, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I worked there, and you just earn points. I would buy stuff online. You put in your number, and you could. When I worked there, people would come in and they would have hundreds of points, and sometimes they would bank them, sometimes they would spend them, sometimes people would spend them. Every 100 points they get $5 off, or they'd save them up and then like get a free set. I got this $40 set for $2 and then paying the sales tax. Like, I nailed it. And that was fun. And so I had that, and I earned points and redeemed points throughout the years, no problem. And then a few years ago they changed it. And now there was like a website you had to go to, because the way it was before, you walked into the Lego store with your card, they scanned it, they go, you have 400 points. Do you want to redeem any of these for $5 off? And you'd say, yeah, I want $20 off. And they would go clickety clackety, take the $20 off, and then you'd walk out the door, having earned however many points from this new purchase. So they changed it to where now to get the $5 off, you had to go log into the website, get a coupon, exchange your points, get a coupon, and then you could go in and get the discount. But they also changed, now you earn like 5 points a dollar and redeeming, and they like changed the numbers.
Inflation, hyper Lego inflation.
No, it still came out to $100, got you $5 off, but $5 off wasn't the only prize. You could also get like tchotchke shit that they would sell you for your Lego points, but it all got way more complicated than it was, and it was very, very annoying.
Yes.
And I still had the account set up, so it was like whatever, no big deal. Well, they changed it again recently, and they rug pulled all of the points you earned before. Now you sign up for Lego. I don't even remember what it's called, but you signed up for that, and now you earn like 10,000 points, and the points vary based on what the Lego set is. It's not like tied to the monetary value, and you can do different things with it. And I'm just like, no, I'm not fucking signing up for this again for the same reason why I never signed up for AMC Stubs, because going back even further in my life, back in high school, I went to the movies a lot. I like going to the movies, and I went to AMC theaters, and AMC theaters had AMC rewards, and I signed up for AMC rewards, and it was great. I don't know how it worked, but it seemed like every other time I went to the movies, it printed out a coupon where I could have free popcorn or soda or something. And it was a great little deal. A lot of times it'd be like a free small popcorn, and then you just pay like half price to upgrade it to a large kind of deal. Sometimes you get a free large or like a free hot dog, but you got free stuff for going to see movies. It was great. And then one day I went to AMC, I think still in maybe right after high school, and I would go up and be like, I would like to see 2 tickets for Terminator 2. I'm by myself, but I don't want to sit next to anyone. And I handed my credit card and my AMC rewards card every time, and it's just like swipe the rewards card, swipe my credit card, and get my tickets. And this time I hand them both cards, and the guy goes, they're retiring this, and I was like, he's like, it's AMC Stubs now, and I was like, okay, we'll do my credits transfer to AMC Stubs. He goes, oh no,
of course.
He's like, do you want to sign up for AMC Stubs? It's like, no, fuck you. I've been coming here seeing movies for years, and I don't even get like a bump in the AMC Stubs program. No, I'm done. I'm done with these fucking rewards programs. Everyone's got one, and they're always trying to like rejigger the point. Oh, your points are expiring. You got to go do this thing. Airline points, this kind of deal. You can't actually use your points for this kind of flight. I'm tired of it. Rewards programs are not rewards programs. It's some kind of scam to make you think that you're like. It's a scam to trick you into being loyal to a brand. Because that was the other thing. Eventually, I fell out of buying directly from Lego, because if I bought on Amazon, I could usually get 15% off because everything on Amazon's cheaper.
And it'll be there the next morning.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not getting my VIP points anymore, but I'm saving. Yeah. I'm saving the $5 on every purchase, not just every time I spend $100. And so I mean, I know that there are exceptions to this rule. Like there are probably rewards programs that aren't bullshit, but I'm just not falling for it anymore. The gas station from my hometown and the grocery store had this it was called Reese's Rewards or something like that. And it was a really weird deal where for every $50 you spent at Reese's on groceries, you could swipe your card at Quick Trip, and then you would get 5 cents off for gas. And if you had $150 in groceries, you could get 15 cents off on your gas, which is quite a steal.
Bad.
Yeah. And especially if you just natively buy groceries at Reese's and gas at Quick Trip, and you kind of keep track of when I've spent $150, I am saving, quite a bit on a full tank of gas, a couple bucks in gas every time. And then one day it was just like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore.
That sucks.
Oh, okay. Cool.
99% of rewards programs suck. They're terrible. Occasionally, like there are some good ones, sort of. Like there's definitely like it's all about brand loyalty. We were in Calgary, the Calgary Co-op, it's like a grocery store chain, and you're basically like a part owner. You're part of the co-op. You get in, signed in on it, and then if you keep shopping there as much as you can for like the whole year, at the end of the year, they just straight up cut you a check. And generally speaking, like, if you spent there all year, you're probably getting a check of like 150 to up to almost like $300, which is not bad. And it incentivizes you to go. And then you could get a discount on your gas. And then when you spent money on the gas, you gained more credit towards your thing. So again, you just like constantly go there as much as possible. I don't mind the more generic points or rewards on my credit card, because then it's like wherever I spend it, right? Like it's wherever I spend it. So I used to have like the Avion card in Canada, which would get you, airline points. And then like, I remember it worked by like distances or zones. And I lived, I used this when I lived in Calgary, and I used this when I lived in Vancouver. And I remember it was like 15,000 points gets you a free trip in the next zone. And Calgary and Vancouver were in basically adjacent zones. And like to buy a ticket at that time was somewhere between like $300 to $500, depending on when and where, like, and all that kind of stuff. But like it didn't impact your points thing. And every year you'd have to, when you renew or have to pay your credit card fee, they would give you 15,000 points. So every year I was getting a free trip. Either when I was living in Vancouver, I get a free trip to Calgary, or when I was living in Calgary, I get a free trip to Vancouver, because nobody's going to like Winnipeg or anything like that.
Mhm.
Or Edmonton. But I remember using that a lot. The thing that I didn't like was sometimes when they book it, it was completely free. But then depending on who I was calling, they'd be like, oh, it just doesn't cover the tax. But like when you fly, you got fuel tax, you got airport tax, you got sales tax. So you had to pay that. And that ended up usually being like $150 to $175 every time you do it. We do like it, like on the card that I have down here, the Visa I have down here. It just accrues points, and then some places give you more points, and some places you can redeem the points. So, and the points generally are just dollar figure amounts. And what we've learned is that if we try to buy as much of our groceries or our gasoline or things with our credit card and then just pay it off right away, we can almost pay for, it's like pretty much like all of our kids' Christmas presents can be bought with the points at the end of the year. Like, you, generally speaking, we can get enough through the course of the year that it's just boom, one place and could get all the, a couple of places you can get it. Or it's good at like a lot of like the automotive stuff. Like if I'm getting stuff for my car, there's a few places that like I've gotten like free tires off of my points.
Yeah.
So I don't hate those, but the credit card is already in my wallet. So any of those ones that required you to have another card in your wallet, those things start to build up. You're carrying it around all the time. So they either do it with a card, which you're like, anytime I go to these places, I'm like, I forget that, I forget that I'm going there. So I don't bring the stupid card. And then some of them will like redeem them or add them on if you come back with the receipt, but it's like, that's another trip I got to make.
Yeah.
And so then they started moving more towards apps on your phones, which are even more devious. I hate those even more because you got push notifications that come from things.
There was a between there where they would just take your phone number or email address so they could track on their end your purchases.
That's fine.
And then when that wasn't enough data tracking and not be, selling your phone number to telemarketers in India became less lucrative, then it was like, oh yeah, put our rewards app on your phone so we can see where you're driving when you're going to other stores and shit. And pushing it, the push notifications and everything.
Oh, they're awful.
Their rewards programs are antithetical to the wants of a real business, because if they end up having to kind of like pay out the value that you are to them as a customer, they're losing the profit that you are to them as a customer. And that's why they like change the rules every now and again, or the earnings are so complicated. AutoZone had one, and it was like for every $20 you spent, you got something. But the way it always ended up working out was, I'd be working on a project on my car and I, go buy a new starter and it's $150. And so I got 17 points or whatever. And then, next time you'll get $20 off. But then the next time I have an issue with my car that I need the discount for, like, then it's been 3 months. So those points expired. It's like, well, fuck you. Like, that I'm coming in and buying like a one major thing at a time, and usually not back to back to back. I mean, I guess if you're like doing it all the time, that may be more lucrative, but for the average user, but they give you this lie of putting this tag on your keys so that you can scan it every time you go into the AutoZone and get absolutely nothing for it. And the data tracking, and I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of being asked for my phone number. I'm tired of this pause in every transaction at the store. Do you have reward? No. Do you want to reward me? Fucking lower all the prices. Don't make me carry around a bunch of shit or give you my phone number so that you can give me $1 off. Like Walgreens is one that really pissed me off a long time ago because they had Walgreens rewards or whatever the fuck it was called. They all have these cutesy bullshit names, and there was literally 2-tiered pricing on the shelf. It'd be like, this thing is $5 if you're a Walgreens rewards member, and if you're not, it's $7. Fuck you, pay me. And then they're like, well, if you just give me your phone number, we can sign you up right now. I don't want you to have my fucking phone number. I don't want to carry a fucking card. And just fucking put the price, make the price on the shelf. You've got one, don't you? Scan your own fucking card. Scan your fucking card and get the points and just stop asking me the fucking question.
I'm still a little bit confused as to why Planet Fitness would do that.
I don't know.
Because you're not giving them extra money. Well, I guess maybe they're hoping to bring you in more. So there's a few things they might have there. Like, for example, if you go more, you're less likely to cancel at the time of renewal. You'll also be getting in better shape. So you'll better be able to tell other people that what you're doing is working. By the way, and also the gym doesn't look empty all the time. Because, like, I don't know. I think it's probably like 80 to 90% of gym memberships are from people who don't actually go.
Yeah.
They got roped in, and they like, man, I need a lawyer like a gym has a lawyer for those contracts, because those contracts are ironclad.
No, it's funny because I go to this one location pretty frequently, and I've had several people be like, "Oh, my wife," or I that's the one I go to, and I'm like, "Really?" Because I go all different times a day, 6-7 days a week, and I've never seen you there, not once.
What a coincidence!
Yeah.
Well, and like Nintendo has this for my kids. I know that like Microsoft had this for like Minecraft.
Yeah.
They still have them, but man, oh man, just trying to get them out. When you brought up about looking up on like a website for those things, those are my least favorite kind of points. The ones with the tiers, and it's like every time you look at them, they're demoralizing, because you're just like, I have to spend thousands of dollars to get this like cheap Bluetooth speaker for the beach, or something like that. It's
the equivalent. It's the adult equivalent of the arcade
absolutely
tickets. Where,
absolutely.
You go in there and it's like, I'm going to play all these games. I'm going to get the PlayStation. PlayStation 2 is what was when I was going to arcades as a child, right? And you like play all the games and you hit a couple of jackpots and you put the things in there. It's like you have 700 tickets. And the PlayStation 2 costs 50,000 tickets. You would have to,
exactly.
And I don't remember how old I was. I was probably in middle school when it finally clicked in my brain, like the amount of money that I could feasibly make per ticket. Tokens 25 cents, and I put one token into the game. And I don't remember what the game was, but there was a game that I knew that I could get like a high number of tickets on every play. And I was like, if every token's a quarter, it takes 1 quarter to play this game, and I get 25 essentially this PlayStation will cost me way more than if I just like saved my allowance and bought it straight out.
Well, have you ever seen the movie Punch Drunk Love starring Adam Sandler?
Yeah,
that's like one of those few times where like, and it was based sort of on like a real story of somebody who gamed the system to get like air miles.
Mm-hmm.
and like as it goes in the movie, like he figures out that like the economics of like pudding cups when he got them was like, it made it so that basically he was getting his air miles at like a penny on the dollar kind of thing, like that. And he got it so big that they just basically in real life, they recognized that this guy gamed the system, figured it out, totally did it legally. And so they ended up just giving him a free air pass for life, just because he'd racked up so many that they were like, they wanted him to just take it and shut up about it and not tell everybody how
else got in on the game. Yeah. They're always trying to get you somehow with their bullshit, and I'm just done. I'm done investing in your things. Sell me a good product that works, and I'll buy it. And you just sell it to me at whatever it costs you to make it and make your little bit of profit. And stop asking me for my phone number. Stop giving me a little piece of plastic in my wallet that I have to scan. Stop making me put an app on my phone.
Push notifications.
Just go straight to hell. And don't pass go, don't collect $200, leave me alone. Because I know I will never get anything out of it more than what I've already spent.
Totally.
It's
It's a
sunk
scam.
cost fallacy, and they really they prey on women a lot more. Like women always have, oh, I have rewards for Logan's Roadhouse or in Texas Roadhouse, and like this restaurant thing. I'm a Loyalty Plus rewards member. On my birthday, they give me a free slice of cake. I'm like, yeah, they give everyone a free slice of cake on their birthday. That's why people walk in and say, hey, it's my birthday. Can you sing that stupid annoying song?
Yeah, man. They're never going to go away, though. That's
No.
the thing. There's always a department where somebody dreamed it up, and they're always tinkering with it, and they're always making sure that it's economically sound. And yeah, those things are permanent. They're never going away.
And it's always like restaurants. It's always a dessert, which you don't need to be eating all the time. And it's usually something that like you can get a scoop of ice cream. It's like, oh yeah, I bet that costs you, set you back a whole $1.
Not even.
Yeah.
Good issue, man. I like that one.
Oh, and the punch cards. Fucking hate the punch cards.
Oh. You know what though? Actually, I'm gonna say there is something tactile. There's something satisfying. Occasionally, grocery store chains will do this thing where, for a certain period of time, you collect stamps, and the stamps go on a thing, and then you get like a really nice knife, like a kitchen knife or something. They have knife sets. It's always knives or like pots or pans or something like that. And I know like you have to spend like a demon just to get it, but I don't know why those ones I always like. I know but like I remember my buddy worked at Subway, and Subway used to have the stamps or whatever on the card, kind of like a punch card thing.
Yeah,
and it took a while for like Subway to like recognize like your employees hate you, and they're just gonna fill these things up and give them to their friends for free food all the time like that. I'm not saying that happened to me, but I did have a friend who worked at Subway.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I had thought, now it's just escaped my brain.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm done with the rewards programs. I want to check out in silence. Can we just do that? Can we just like, I'm going to get it tattooed on my forehead, like, please don't talk to me.
It's the only good part about self-serve checkout. That's the only good part. But then
they still ask you for your reward shit, and then the thing's got to talk to you.
You still have to talk to a human groceries. Like an unexpected wait is in the load section or something like that.
Yeah, man.
Anyway, good issue.
Well, that is our episode. This has been Here's What I Don't Get. I'm Tab Burt.
I'm El Chaco.
We'll catch you guys next time.
Ciao, ciao.
If you want to call in the Here's What I Get hotline, call us at 704-750-9434 and tell us what you don't get. Or you can visit us on the Discord and upload a voicemail there. Here's one from the voicemail hotline.
Yeah, here's what I don't get is people who kind of expect you at a left turn yield to like make a synchronized, like, yeah, wait for me and we'll do it at the same time so we're super safe. It's like, no, dumbass, just fucking make the turn and go for it. Like, I feel bad for the people behind you waiting for your retarded ass to make a fucking turn. Like, these people don't understand that you gotta drive with the sense that it's other people's responsibilities at certain times not to hit you, i.e. making a left turn yield. Like, I don't fucking get it.
Yeah. I was really pissed off on my drive home today because there were a bunch of people selling lemonade or some shit on the side of the road. And the person in front of me in the left-hand turn lane stopped to have them to buy a lemonade, and I missed the light and had to sit through another fucking cycle. And I was about ready to just ram into the back of them and push them into traffic.
When we're down here, I've talked many times about how bad the driving is, but that's one of the things that drives me the most crazy is Paraguayans will do this thing where it's a very busy street and there's, cars parked along the side, and they want to go in and pop into a store. So if there's a car already parked there, they'll just stop in the lane, throw on their hazard lights, turn around and give you this like this gesture where it's for those who are just listening, it's like, like that little inch, like with your fingers, just a little bit of time, I'll be right back. And it's like, you bastard, I'm stuck here now, I can't get out until what are you doing? Why? Just pull down another lane and park a car like a regular person.
Block, yeah.
It's insane. Yeah, that's if they use a signal too, because they hardly ever use signals.
Well, people don't deserve to know where you're going.
Exactly.
That's what someone said to me once about not using
the moment at all times.
Yeah.
Hey, here's what I don't get. Ford over-engineering their engines to make them quiet. So recently, I'm kind of in the market for F-150 with the 3-liter Power Stroke, but they only made it from, I believe, 2018 to 2021. And in those couple of years, not a lot of them were made because diesel guys like a engine that sounds a little aggressive and gives a rawr, rawr, rawr kind of sound, and Ford over-engineered the fuck out of the engine, so instead of rawr, 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 it's super quiet. And it's the same problem with my 2.7 EcoBoost. It is such an over-engineered engine that they put all the quality points into having a quiet engine and having little kind of tiny turbo sounds instead of making a V6 that has 315 horsepower out of 2 turbos that will make more turbo noise and sound a little bit more aggressive. But what do I know, right? I'm just a consumer of American vehicles, especially Ford, because Ford and Dodge are on top. Not with the new Charger, but, either way, stay curious.
Hey, you gotta have a manly truck. Can't have these bitchy, quiet whisper trucks.
Didn't they have to add sound to Teslas because they were too quiet and
oh yeah,
hit on them and stuff?
But they talk to you. They're like, "Bing, car driving. Bing, car driving." It's super annoying.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
No, man. If you're buying a truck, you want it to sound like a truck. You know. And the other thing is you've seen this whole thing, this big blown up thing with Harley Davidson recently, and people all the boomers, because Harley Davidson's dying, and it has nothing to do with being woke or anything like that. It's dying because boomers bought Harley Davidsons, and every other generation afterwards didn't have the same kind of midlife crisis. That's really what it comes down to. And so the thing about a Ford truck, it's you want it to sound like a truck because that's what we, the consumer, want, and you're not gonna. The other thing is that a woman who wants to buy a truck like that also wants it to sound like that. They also want it to have that sound, because the thing is that whoever it is that wants quiet, is this for suburbs? What is this for? Where was this problem that you had to engineer the heck out of the sound of the engine? That doesn't make any sense. I don't know.
What's crazy is you can build active exhaust that can be switched from a quiet mode to a loud mode. That's a thing that exists.
Oh, really?
And you could just put that on your trucks and have a little switch there in the cockpit to go loud, quiet. So you're trying to sneak in at 3 a.m., you can put it in whisper mode and it'll go.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to impress all the ladies at the stoplights, you can, rah, rah, I got my big truck guy.
And you know what? They are impressed.
They
say they aren't, but no. In that case, yes means, or no means yes.
Hey, bitch, this mustache ain't gonna ride itself. Brum, brum. Here's another one that came in while we were recording.
Hey there, I am Matt. It's stupid phone decided to say service right when I'm about to give you my address. So I had to rob some of their money and have them pay for the service for a few more months. I look forward to being rich once I see you guys for not delivering my pizza. Alright, enough doing down here. I know I'm kind of broke right here because I'm damned for change, but the address to contact me is...
Cut off again. Man. I really got to pay better for the better voicemail service.
You got to be in a better... Maybe it's his cell phone coverage. He's in one of those bad parts of town.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
lots
just
of
drops
concrete.
Off. That's unfortunate.
This one's for you.
Oh.
Hi guys, I just wanted to phone in and just send my best wishes that the court case went okay for is it Joel Chaco? It just sucks, man. That's just horrified to hear about that, and I've been meaning to call in sooner. Really hope you won and that justice prevailed. That's a shitty situation. It's you come to this country you've gone to, Paraguay, is it? And just people there will probably see you as an outsider and think you're rich and all this shit about you, but it takes some shit, man. You've gone through some shit to relocate to a different country. I've done it. I came from the UK. I've settled in 2 different African countries. There's good and bad to it, but you'll definitely have gone through some shit, and you definitely deserve to have won that. Other than that, I just want to say thanks for an awesome show. Really glad the show's back, and yeah, keep doing what you're doing. I really hope this silence for a couple of weeks isn't due to a bad outcome with the court case, and hope to hear from you guys soon. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah, no, I talked to my lawyers about that one, and I mean, the judge basically threw out. Now there's still like a piece of paper with my name on it that has this attached to it. Although at the same time, again, nothing else came out of that. It was terrifying. I didn't enjoy it very much. And again, it was asking for a restraining order, and the lady who lodged that was in that pack of people that came in under my roof. So it's like, you're not that afraid of me, I guess, at that point in time. I will say this. I have this theory, and I think it extends beyond Paraguay, but I have this theory in Paraguay, at least, that 30% of the people here are like shameless, evil, horrible, lying scumbags that will, rob their own grandmother and do all that kind of stuff. 30% are awesome and will like help you out. Like I've had 2 times where I've had my my car break down and had somebody like completely help me and not accept any compensation or anything, like just the old pay it forward kind of thing like that. Like I've had incredible interactions with Paraguayans, and I have a lot of Paraguayan friends. The people that came out for my court case, like the guys who witnessed for me and stuff like that, like they're totally on my side, and we get each other. Everything's cool. And then there's the other 40%. So the other 40% are what in wrestling world we call tweeners. They're not quite baby faces. They're not quite heels. They're malleable. They go with the wind. And Paraguay is a country that loves a winner. Mm-hmm. So, if the 2 most popular, Paraguay has its own football league, like its own soccer league, and it's got divisions and promotions and relegations. But like, if you talk to everybody here, there are only really 2 teams that everybody cheers for: Olimpia and Cerro Porteño. And like, there's tons of teams in the country, but nobody cheers for anything but those 2. I cheer for Guarani, which is like, is like the 3rd place team. Way safer to go to their games because there's not like a full-blown brawl that takes place at every one of them. But what I've noticed about Paraguayans is like the 40%, for example, it was back and forth for people who supported our cause in our community, because rumors fly everywhere. Everybody's talking about all types of stuff. And it's like, either he's the big bad Canadian who's evil and he's just trampling on these poor, old, elderly, poor Paraguayans. But like, as the truth kind of keeps seeping out, I've started to see a little bit of a turn for the better in terms of people kind of getting an idea that they knew these people for a long time. They know that they're scumbags and they know that they're liars. And I think the closer I get to winning, and after I win both, I think the other one's pretty much put to bed because my lawyers don't seem to think it's worth putting more time or effort into. I think that one's all done. But with the land one, like, I think it'll take time, but like, I really hope we avoid that police eviction situation. If I can do it peacefully, better. But if not, it'll take a little bit of time to rebuild everything after that. And it really comes down to that 40%. It's like the swing voters. You know, when you meet people, like, I never understand how, like, in elections, people are undecided. It's like, what do you mean you're undecided? They're totally different parties. You can hate both of them, but being undecided, that's just weird. Like, you got won over because the DNC convention had like Lil Jon come down the aisle. Like, what that did it for you?
That should disqualify you from being able to vote.
But that's why they love democracy, and why I've brought democracy in on this thing is because it's so easy to sway somebody's vote that isn't a high info voter.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I really appreciate it. You've lived in 2 places in Africa. Good on you, I guess. Like, I can imagine you probably go through some similar kinds of corruption, and, you know, let's just say emotional, low IQ arguments from people who are okay with lying against the foreigner. But 30%, they love foreigners here. They know, like, not all of us are good. There's some total scumbags that come down this way. Like, Paraguay is not at the top of most people's lists, but they do know that, like, if you work well, if you are honest with them, if you know, there's a mutual benefit to each other for being good to one another. And so, you know, when it came to our court case, if needed, I probably would have been able to solicit some good witnesses to help me out. But in the case that it came down to, it didn't. It was funny because you could tell that it was the same shitty lawyer that I talked about before that put them up to it. Because when the lady went in herself, she didn't mention shooting guns. She didn't mention any of that stuff. She felt that she was being harassed every time a document was brought to their home, whether it was by a government employee or having my lawyers go and talk to them. It's like, well, we don't even speak the same language. I don't even speak Guarani. I can't. I'm never going to learn it. It's not a language I can pronounce. I can't do it. So I had to pick somebody who could speak your language so that there wasn't a lost in translation moment here. And that's the only way. But I think that the judge actually recognized that, because when she went and testified, that's all she said was, I don't like that he sent his lawyer to talk to us. I don't like that we keep getting documents brought to us by the courthouse. And it's like, well, lady, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
So
That's welcome to being sued.
Yeah. But thank you very much for the call. I love that. That's great. Thank you.
I got another one here from the voicemail hotline.
And also, too, on the same point in my last voicemail, where it's like, it's the same thing when you're getting on the freeway. Like, I just got on the freeway. I'm not a fucking asshole. Like, I get up to freeway speed. I don't expect everybody to fucking slow down or speed up to let me in. But then also, too, at the same time, you got fucking dumbasses who will get over instinctually just seeing somebody get on because they assume they're going to fucking drive slow. See, at that point, the person getting on, it's their responsibility not to get hit. So, yeah, it just causes fucking traffic, and I just don't understand why people don't, like, try to think about these things and try to streamline everything, and they're just fucking retarded, and, well, I guess that's the only answer.
You're right. They are.
Yeah. There was one in Tulsa that I remember. It was where Highway 51 intersected Highway 169, right? And it's a big clover loop. And cars coming from one onto the other, inevitably, the people on the highway needing to exit into the clover loop would speed up to get in front of the people getting onto the highway, right? Whereas if they got in behind them, you kind of like cross over and you need to slow down to exit, and this person needs to speed up to get on the highway. So if you just trade positions, and inevitably people would cut you off to then hit the brakes to get on the exit, thus slowing you down from being able to speed up to move over and get into main traffic. I think they did finally change that or maybe they're going to, into flyovers, so you exit before the oncoming people. But it was infuriating. It was like, drive like a team, please.
I remember when I worked up north, because I was going to be driving company cars, they made us take a defensive driving course, and it was great. I really liked it. It was really good. Like, I believe that a lot of the stuff I learned there stuck with me when I'm down here because I have to defensively drive every time I get behind the wheel. And the caller mentioned about streamlining. Here's the problem. Most people are retarded and they can't streamline anything because they're thinking about something else and they don't think about the thing they need to think about until it's way too late. And so they're always caught in the moment. And there's a few people there are good people out there, but I'm going to say like 10 to 20% tops that know how to drive well enough to be able to plan ahead so that they put on their signal or they slow down when they need to slow down or speed up when they need to speed up. And that's the unfortunate thing about driving. And it's pretty much everywhere in the world is that most people aren't mentally capable to drive. And so I'm not a big fan of the idea of self-driving cars for me. There's a lot of other people that I would be like, you know what? We're probably better off if Elon's driving for you.
Here's another one. I think it's a follow-up.
And another thing on top of that, to make my vehicle a little bit louder and make it sound like a pickup truck, not just like a quiet little Econo shitbox, I'd have to spend about $1,200, including downpipe and cat, for my truck to not sound like shit. But on top of that, it's an EcoBoost. So the turbos, take the exhaust gas and don't call and correct me on this, Andy. I don't give a fuck. They take the exhaust gas and, put it back in the engine to make it more fuel efficient, which makes less exhaust sound, which makes the exhaust sound terrible. That's why the Ford Raptor switched to a 5.2-liter supercharged V8 because you cannot make a twin-turbo V6 sound good. Stay furious.
It doesn't put the gas back into the engine. It uses the gas to turn a turbine that pulls more air into the engine. I'll do Andy's job for him there. That's a supercharger uses the torque from your main drive wheel to turn a corkscrew that sucks more air into the engine, and a turbo uses that waste energy to do the same thing. That's why turbos have lag and superchargers don't have lag.
Interesting.
Is that stupid phone still working? Oh, for Christ's sake. Why do they keep cutting me off when I try to give you the address? Anyways, every cowboy. Hey, address.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to call AT&T and get them to send you a new phone like they did for me the other day. They sent me a brand AT&T. I called AT&T because I was having issues with my service. This is the craziest customer service thing I've ever had. I call them and I'm ready to like go through all the fucking technical nonsense. I'm like, yeah, my don't get text messages. My phone drops calls. It's super annoying. The guy's like, how long has it been going on? I'm like, months. It's been going on for months. And then he goes, it's probably something wrong with your phone. We'll replace it. Hold, please. And he like puts me on hold and transfers me to another department. And that lady's like, what's the problem? And I thought that I was gonna have to start the whole process again with her. And she's like, what's your address? And I confirmed my address, and I got a brand new cell phone the next day, a brand new Pixel 8 Pro in the mail the next day. And I was like, what the hell is happening?
That's awesome.
Yeah. Here's one last one.
Yeah, here's what I don't get. Interstate, fucking, of course, you got a semi-truck trying to overtake another semi-truck. Going downhill, like, hey, look, buddy, you're going to get a little boost, go a little bit faster. And why the fuck are you braking? Like, why are you braking? You're trying to pass this guy, and you're braking. Like, the only thing I can think of, like, rationally is, okay, maybe there's like a, fucking my speed is monitored by GPS type of stuff. Sure, but it's like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
This is why I've been saying for years we need two separate highway systems: a highway system for truck drivers and a highway system for cars. We do not belong on the same roads together. Not saying that truck drivers are bad, not saying that cars are good. It's just that we're not the right size vehicles to be sharing a road.
We're not in sync.
Yeah.
Doesn't work. Yeah.
Like car drivers are all useless and they don't know to not drive in the left lane. Truck drivers are mostly good about that, but every so often I hate getting trapped behind these two truck drivers
Oh.
going steady. Oh, I'm empty, so I'm going uphill faster than you, but then we're going downhill and you're full, so now you go downhill faster than me. And I'm like, I just want to go 5 miles over the speed limit. I can't do that because you motherfuckers are trying to date. Truck clock, who wants it? Anyway, that's all our voicemails. Call and leave us more voicemails. Tell us about how much you hate driving around in your neck of the woods.
Sounds like a good idea. We're turned into a car driving show.
Yeah, this is now a car podcast. This is what we do.
Exactly. Car guys.
This is fun. Hopefully we'll do it again next week or
we'll try.
Let's see.
We'll
see what the schedule.
You know what? I didn't want to say it too early, but I think we have
broken the curse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is like 3 in a row of like no problem.
That's also kind of one of the things I like about the less stringent format is I was not at any point in time in the last couple weeks just like, well, I did feel bad because it took me a long time to edit the Larry episode because I just like kept getting pulled into other stuff and not getting time to sit down. But I wasn't like, oh, we gotta get home and do an episode tonight because it's Tuesday. It was just like, we're not doing an episode this week because things are too busy. Like it'll be fine.
People don't realize how much that editing takes to sometimes. It takes some finesse, especially.
And just like wait. So it's not as bad with the two of us, but then you add a third voice, and it's like, okay, now it takes a third 30% longer because I gotta process these files and go through and it's
the worst one of all time. What's the worst editing for an episode you had to do for Here's What I Don't Get?
There was one where I posted a screenshot at one point that it was like hundreds of micro edits and I don't remember what episode it was, but I was just like, this is intolerable.
See, because I used to over engineer the hell out of it back in the day, in the early days, but the Cernovich episode took me so long
because there were like 5 guests.
Well, and at the time, right? Like at the time, we had it where it's like if we would do the thing with the clap to synchronize the audio, but Cernovich, being a big deal that he was, didn't want to do any of that. So I had the external. I had a feed from my computer recording like all of the Skype conversation because everything we did was on Skype. We also had Blonde on that episode, and we had Berkeley Brendan. And so Berkeley Brendan had his, Blonde had hers, Buck had his, I had mine, but Cernovich was in the general one. So on Cernovich's one, I also had Buck, I also had Blonde, I also had Brendan, all bunched into one file. And then anytime anybody talked over anybody, it was a nightmare to do that one. That one took me probably about 10 times as long to do the editing on that one than any other episode I did. And it was brutal. That's why I like it with this. It's like low pressure. Generally speaking, it's just ironing out some stuff here and there. I used to actually take out all the ums and ahs.
Yeah. That would kill me.
Yeah, but at the time I was trying to be as pro as possible, and that was the case.
I used to take out. I would heavily edit the first half hour and the last half hour.
Okay.
Right. I would take out the ums and uhs in those, and I got pretty good at. I could tell
look at it
and an by the shape of the waveform.
Yep.
And so that first third being pretty clean because that's what you're first listening to, and that last third being pretty clean because that's what you're walking away from. And in the middle, I would give it a once over and kind of hit the high spots. But then over time, as Tim and I got more comfortable and Buck and I got more comfortable and just going back and forth, there was a lot less of that stuff. And the uhs that do kind of slip through are a lot less noticeable than when you have a long pause before you say the next thing.
Yeah, we had a rule too. It was like you want to have, if you can train your brain to do the long pause instead of or the ah, it makes it easier to
Yeah.
edit as well, because you can just see a long straight line and just take it out. But yeah, no, I like the way it is now. I want to say again, thank you for doing the editing. I
Yeah, no
don't miss
problemo.
that.
Well, that's the episode this week. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Don't get in any trouble. If
Don't
you
make
do,
those
make
left turn
headlines.
yields more difficult than they need to be. God
Yeah.
bless. Ciao.